Hey everybody, I got a new webcam that is a HD webcam actually, so you can see me in all of my glory if you want that. Um, it's 3 a.m., but I decided I'd make a video after watching a little bit of cable news. Um, Oftentimes you hear that the media is liberal, that the media is so incredibly liberal. But I want to completely and utterly disprove that. It's not only not liberal, it's actually conservative. And I'm not going to make that claim. I'm going to prove that claim. So let's first off start out with Fox News. Fox News really shouldn't go without explaining, but I'll do a little bit of it. They did TV spots openly advertising the Tea Party. They routinely receive memos that are Republican talking points that they have to include in their broadcasts. They were the only channel that called Florida for George Bush in 2000 and started the Florida recount. And many Republican operatives, such as Roger Ailes, are in high positions at Fox News. Anybody who thinks that Fox News isn't conservative really belongs in a mental hospital, in my opinion. I mean, they don't even try to hide it at this point with people like Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity and other dumbasses. But that's Fox News. That's no surprise. Now let's look at CNN. CNN is supposedly supposed to be the only channel that really shows both sides. You know, I mentioned Glenn Beck earlier. You want to know where Glenn Beck got his career started from? CNN. He had a show on CNN before he had a show on Fox. His career was launched by CNN. Greta Van Sustern, who also now is a conservative commentator on Fox, started at CNN. Career launched by CNN. Lou Dobbs, who basically is known as the crazy immigration guy, who might run for president as a third party and is going to be a commentator on the Fox News channel. He started at CNN. His career was launched at CNN. John Roberts, another one of their major political journalists, is transferring to Fox News. Uh, so you have all of these Fox News hosts really got their start at CNN, and they are all conservative. Even ones you wouldn't expect to be conservative have a track record of being conservative. Anderson Cooper, if you look at his financial disclosure for his political donations, actually donated 100% of his donations to political candidates have been to Republicans. This is public knowledge. You can look it up. Fareed Zakaria was a former president of the Yale Political Union, and he was a member of the Conservative Party of that Yale Political Union, which is the second farthest right of the Yale Political Union. So we have another conservative. Big shock. 55% of CNN's political contributors are self-identified conservatives. 55%. And CNN has fired a Middle Eastern correspondent for supporting a liberal Muslim cleric. So, you be the judge. I'm actually going to use a Fox News line. I report, you decide. You decide if all these things are just happenstance or if they are indeed actually conservatives. It seems pretty obvious to me that they have consistent conservative bias. Last but not least, we have MSNBC. Now, this is the one that I'm definitely going to be taking heat for, and I say bring it on, because MSNBC is no different than CNN. Recently, they have hired several liberal hosts, but this is more of a fluke when you look at the history of MSNBC and all of their programming, not just their primetime lineup. They gave the start to Michael Savage's career. And if you haven't heard of Michael Savage, you probably don't want to, because he's fucking crazy. Michael Savage is probably the most conservative douchebag on the planet. In fact, I don't think he's allowed to enter the UK because they believe he's participated in hate speech there. So, you can't really get more conservative than Michael Savage, and he was given his own show on MSNBC. But not only that, they also have a show, I believe it's a 2-hour show, which is one of their longer shows in the morning, called Morning Joe with Joe Scarborough. And the show is on right now. Joe Scarborough is a registered Republican. He used to be an elected official. He used to be a representative from Florida. And then last but not least, actually no, it isn't last. I'm thinking of, there's actually a couple more examples. There was a show that was called The Contributors, which featured Ann Coulter and Laura Ingraham. Laura Ingraham, or however you say her name, later became a Fox News conservative correspondent. And Ann Coulter is the same Ann Coulter that's batshit insane, that half the people believe she is just a parody because she's so crazy that she can't honestly be that conservative. Just look at some of her books. They basically insinuate that liberals want to literally destroy America. Just crazy crap. And she got her start on MSNBC. Go figure. But then there was another show called The Situation with Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson now has his own show, conservative show. He identifies himself as a libertarian conservative on Fox News. And once again, MSNBC were the people who launched his political career. Then we have Don Imus, who was great friends with several Republican officials. He talked to Dick Cheney. He talked to Tom DeLay. Most people remember him for his nappy-headed hose comment that got him fired. Another conservative commentator featured on MSNBC. And then here's another one. This guy isn't conservative, but a bunch of people want to paint him as a liberal. And who I'm talking about is Chris Matthews. You constantly hear that this guy is a liberal because one time he said something about an Obama speech made a shiver go up his leg. Sounds slightly erotic, but if you actually look at his views on things, he was right with George Bush on immigration. He was right with George Bush on basically all defense policy. He appears to me to be a moderate, if not a liberal Republican. I mean, on almost every issue, entitlement cutting, he agrees with the Republicans. I mean, he agrees with Democrats on common sense things like don't ask, don't tell. But I'm using facts. People are going to say, well, there was that one shiver comment. He's a raging liberal. MSNBC, they also fired one of their hosts, Phil Donahue, when he spoke out against the Iraq War in 2003, stating that it was a dumb war. They just fired him. And last but not least, they suspended Keith Olbermann for contributing to Democratic campaigns when literally this is done by just about every single political personality out there. But MSNBC decided that Keith Olbermann couldn't do that, even though Fox News, as a corporation, donated millions of dollars to the Republican Party. So, you be the judge. All three of them appear conservative to me. And you know what really shows that is times of war. Have you ever heard any of these three big cable stations really question our policy towards Iran? You haven't. I know you haven't, because it hasn't been done. And it's similar to Iraq. What media stations questioned Iraq? None. Especially in times of war, these cable networks are crazy conservative, and they're just crazy conservative as it is. And it might be good politics for Republicans to call them liberal, but it's not true. I actually think that why they are so conservative is they're doing it to compensate for always being called liberal. But leave some comments. Try and argue with me on this. I'd love to get in a debate about this. Alright, I'm getting tired since it's about 4 a.m., so good night.